Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to episode 198. Nick, how are you?
Hey, Yaman, doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. Dallas, Edward, about Tesla, Alexander, Hustletown. Thank you very much for coming up so quickly. I really appreciate it when people are on time and ready to go. Nick, what do you have to tell for us?
Well, you mentioned on time. We're actually 3 minutes late.
Um, okay, thank you. About Tesla, how is the software updates going?
Well, there are several new developments overnight. So the big one is that the version 12.5.4.1 went really wide. So it went to more than 40% of the fleet in the US and Canada now. So that's and it will soon become the dominant version in the fleet. So that's a big one. There is also a new version, new general release version 2024.38 that showed up on Tesla Fi. But for some reason, it's not rolling out actively. It's still only very few cars, and it's still in pending state, so it's not even installing. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't expect it to have any new FSD versions, but who knows? Still haven't seen anyone actually using it yet. And then finally, there is also a new update, which is probably just a bug fix for Cybertruck. So there is a version 2024.32.20.1, which I believe comes with the same FSD as before, 12.5.5. So I don't know if there are any significant changes in that one. So if anyone has received that, maybe they can provide some additional information.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. We have a lot to talk about today. But first, please take a moment to go up to the top of your screens and like this video. The link to the YouTube video is at the top of your screens. Okay. If you're enjoying this discussion, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to support Tesla Live. Please head over to our YouTube live stream by clicking the link at the top of your screens and hit that like button. Your engagement not only helps us reach more people, but also keeps these conversations going strong. Thank you so much for your support. Omar, welcome. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Feeling excited.
Let's go. Tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the big day. How are you feeling about it?
Uh, I can't wait. Everyone's coming into town. It's exciting. And I've always wondered when I would have my first driverless Tesla ride, and now I know the answer.
Tomorrow is going to be Omar's first Tesla driverless ride. There's a lot of rumors and news going around, lots of headlines going around on Tesla Robotaxis right now. But obviously, Tesla Live is the place where you get the facts. Omar, have you seen these headlines swirling around that there are going to be two doors that open upward?
Yeah, and not much of a scoop there. I mean, we've talked extensively about why this is going to be a two-seater vehicle. And if you look at kind of the concept in Walter Isaacson's biography of Elon, they had a design that had doors that lifted up as well as a two-seat design. The benefits of a two-seat design could be enormous, right? Most rideshare rides are only 1 to 2 people. So when you have a passenger car that you're buying, even though most of the time you're only in it yourself, you still want to have that back row because sometimes you need to use it, or maybe a lot of the time if you have kids. But with a Robotaxi, you can call a Cybercab or you can call a Model 3 or Y if you have a big group that wants to travel together and not split up. And that can serve the higher occupancy needs, but the bulk should just be handled by a lowest cost per mile powerhouse. So by making it a two-seater, they can make it physically smaller, but feel bigger on the inside than even a Model S. So you're going to have tons of room to stretch. You're not going to have any pedals in the way. it could be really interesting to see what they do with that interior. And although it is very spacious and comfortable on the inside, because it's a smaller vehicle, you could have it achieve the desired amount of range, 150 to 300 miles with a much smaller pack. And you could make two Cybercabs maybe with the battery that it would take to make one Model 3 that goes the same range. So the design is very powerful. I think this is what he meant by some people might not get it at first. But what people don't understand is autonomy is not about being first, right? It's not about just whoever's first wins. It's about who's going to dominate the market with the lowest cost per mile possible. And I think that
Good.
is really what the vehicle is going to be about.
Lots of things to discuss today. Let's break it up a little bit. And people are letting me know on YouTube that audio is 1010. The audio on YouTube is 1010. And we reached a record number of likes in the record time. We have over 50 likes in the first 5 minutes. This is on pace to achieve our goal of 1,000 likes per episode. If we can get to 1,000 likes, YouTube TSLA Live is sustainable, financially sustainable. So we're going to take a 30-second break for people to go up to the top of their screens and please click into the YouTube live stream and at the top of your screens and hit that like button. Your engagement not only helps us reach more people, but also keeps this conversation going strong. It only takes a second and it makes a huge difference. So thank you for your support. Let's see if we can get to 100 in the first 10 minutes. 30-second break. $66. 74. 90. This is amazing. This is community rallying around TSLA Live, and it's the only way this is going to get to a financially sustainable level. This is the only way. It's not going to happen without your support. So thank you very much for those of you who take action. Alexander, go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, the doors open upwards actually makes really good sense.
Oh, can you hear me?
Because you want
Alexander.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
We're getting some feedback from your side. So we just crossed 102, by the way. We're getting some feedback. Are you guys hearing that feedback too, or is it just me? Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
people
I
are
could
seeing-
hear it.
Yeah. Do you have YouTube on the background, Alexander?
Oh, can you hear me?
No.
What in the world? Okay. Why don't you? I'm going to bring you down, bring you back up. That's all right. It happens. This is part of the live world. Let's go to Inflexity. What's new with you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys today?
I'm good. Come on. What's new?
So we had news that the DOJ will try to break up Google into smaller parts.
Hold on. This is TSLA Live, baby. First hour from now on is going to be about Tesla. Okay. And then the second hour is going to be other topics. That's part of the structure I'm bringing into the space so that it's more predictable so that people can time what they want to watch. And I'm going to add chapters on YouTube as well. First hour, Tesla. Second hour, non-Tesla news. Okay. So let's go to Omar. Omar, in this latest update of FSD, there is reports of smooth rendering and a bug fixed from 4 years ago. And Andre Karpathy replying, wow, what is this bug that even Andre Karpathy couldn't figure it out? And then it took 4 years for the best AI engineering team to finally fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think it was necessarily a skill issue. I think sometimes there's just bugs in the code that are just there for a long time. Someone made a mistake and no one went back and fixed it. So, in the new FSD, it started with FSD for Cybertruck 12.5.5. The visualization's so smooth. The cars used to kind of jitter around. Now it kind of just makes a completely smooth path. It's very confidence inspiring. So the Cybertruck got it. Then it came to FSD 12.5.6, and it also had these really smooth visualizations. Everyone was like, wow, I wonder how this was achieved. So I started speculating. I was like, maybe this is the first model trained for hardware 4. And that's why the outputs are so smooth. And that's why it hasn't come to hardware 3 vehicles yet. Or maybe they've, made some dramatic new breakthrough in the model that's made it look so smooth. And then Ashok replied and he said, actually, it was just a rendering bug in the visualization. AKA, someone just made a mistake in the code that visualizes it. So it was, even the old models could have done this probably, but there was just a bug in their UI code, essentially. And then he said, yeah, someone just made this, issue 4 years ago. We fixed it, and then it looked like that. And then, Andre Karpathy commented. He said, oh my God. And Asha commented, and he said, yeah. So it's really like, okay, that was pretty stupid that that bug was there, and nobody fixed it until now.
All right. Well, I'm glad it's doing really well. And you pointed it out on X, and Dirty Tesla pointed it out, AI drivers pointed it out. So it appears to be a very material improvement in the experience of using FSD. So that's very positive. Very good stuff. Uzi, how you doing? What's new with you?
I'm doing well. Excited for 1010. I don't know if we talked about the Walter Bloomberg leaks in the last 10 minutes, but
Tell us about it. What's the Walter Bloomberg leaks?
Two things that I saw. One was about the Robotaxi having Falcon doors, a 2-seater, and the other was about the FSD for the Semi.
Omar and I, we actually discussed FSD on Semi at the end of our Robotaxi race video. The Robotaxi race video with Omar has achieved record amount of views, record number of new subscribers for the YouTube channel, record ad revenue, and record watch hours. I highly recommend people watch it. It's very informative. It's very jam-packed. I did a lot of prep for that video. It's only 30 minutes and it's jam-packed with information. And Omar, what do you think about this rumor that Elon's going to talk about FSD on Semi?
Well, honestly, I think the Semi is absolutely a material portion of their Tesla network business. I think it could be the majority of Tesla network revenue long term. So maybe your question was actually a pretty good one. Maybe they might mention the Semi after all. But I just wanted to mention
maybe Elon watched it and then said, maybe I should mention this.
Yeah, I think so. He said, hey, let me throw something in. No, he probably already had it in. We saw those leaks of the Semi, but I just wanted to mention quickly, the Walter Bloomberg account is simply tweeting headlines from the Bloomberg terminal. It's not coming up with these headlines or leaking them itself.
Exactly. So what is the source of that news?
Bloomberg.
I understand, but did Bloomberg mention
Dana Hull and Ed Ludlow.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, you feel very passionate about Bloomberg, I can tell.
No, I like them.
Okay, good.
They're good.
Good. All right. Let's talk about Tesla's new finance deals. I know Omar is very excited about this. Tesla is offering 0% financing rates for a new Tesla if you buy FSD. Is that right? That's a great way of going about increasing the take rates. Omar, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think really this offsets the cost of offering the incentive, right? They offer this, but only on higher priced orders. So the cost of offering the incentive, the margin impact is lessened because they're electing to have FSD, whereas they may have subscribed otherwise. And this essentially, allows them to offer it. They're not going to make that much money on FSD because of the cost of offering the 0% APR, but that user may buy FSD in the future, buy other cars, and you can sort of drive those FSD sales data up as well. So I think that's kind of helpful for a user. It's kind of a great deal because you can essentially get FSD for about $36 a month. Because if you look at what the cost of the interest is on that loan, you look at the prevailing rate and you look at the 0%, the monthly payment only changes by about $36. So it makes purchase for the first time look like a really good deal compared to subscribing.
Very good. I'm excited for it. I think this is going to increase FSD take rates, combined with tomorrow's events and what Tesla is going to show. The picture Tesla is going to paint about the future, I think is going to be very material for Tesla FSD take rates. While other automakers are having investor day after investor day, announcing new EVs and new batteries and making promises about low prices, they're missing the bigger picture, that the future is autonomous. I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsors that make this space possible. In the meantime, if you're watching this on X, please go up to the top of your screens, click into that YouTube live stream, and hit that like button. Your engagement not only helps us reach more people, but also keeps conversations going strong. It only takes a second and it makes a huge, huge difference. Okay, so let me read our sponsors, without whom this would not be possible. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. Looking to upgrade your tech? Want to turn your old devices into cash? With over 100 stores nationwide, Paymore makes it easy and secure. They believe that the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. At Paymore, you can buy the latest gadgets at great prices, sell or trade your used electronics for cash or store credit, recycle old or broken devices responsibly, helping to reduce electronic waste. Join the Paymore revolution today. Visit one of their stores near you or check them out online at paymore.com. Thank you, Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live and for making technology accessible and sustainable for everyone. And Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. Are you looking to elevate your Tesla driving experience? Look no further than Joa. They offer a wide range of high-quality accessories designed specifically for Tesla owners who demand the best. At Joa, you'll find innovative charging solutions, stylish interior upgrades, protective gear, cutting-edge tech add-ons. And here's an exclusive offer for Tesla Live listeners. Use the promo code TSLA Live at checkout to receive a special discount on your next purchase. So why wait? Visit Joa.com today to explore their full range of products and take your Tesla experience to the next level. Thank you, Joa, for supporting Tesla Live and the Tesla community. And Hollis on YouTube just tipped $20 in Super Chat to support Tesla Live as well. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go. Finflexity. Any news on Tesla on your radar? Oh, Finflex is not here. Alexander, any news from Europe?
Yeah, there was some news today. Mark Duchesne, former production manager at Tesla in Fremont and the current CEO of the Swedish battery producer Northvolt, resigned this morning after long times of production and scaling problems that they had at the factory in Sweden. This news is only like 2 weeks after they laid off like 1,600 people at the factory. But there's a kicker. Guess where he spent nearly 4 years besides Tesla? You guessed it. At Nikola Motor Company. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing. Hey, Alexander, are those prepared remarks?
I kind of wrote down some notes to have more details in my answers.
You know, look at this. Our speakers are preparing for this space. This is amazing. And Alexander is one of our handful of speakers who signed up for daily detailed feedback on their performance. And so our speakers are working really hard. I really appreciate it. I think this space is going to be very special. We have a lot of potential. Thank you, Alexander, for those
I have
prepared remarks.
one more
Go ahead.
thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So today, the Nobel Prize Committee announced the winner of 2024 Nobel Prize in Physics, and it went to John Hopfield and Jeffrey Hinton for invention and discoveries that enabled machine learning and artificial neural networks. So congrats to especially John Hopfield, because he's American.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Great news. We have a question from the real Zertek in YouTube live chat who says, inspired by Alexander's note, will Elon have one more thing tomorrow? Will Elon have one more thing tomorrow? Let's go to About Tesla. About Tesla, what do you think? Do you think there will be a one more thing announcement tomorrow?
Well, we are always open to surprises, of course. I do not expect anything about the Roadster, for example. I know Roadster was rumored. I do not think it will be the thing, although it would be nice to fly, but it would take away from attention away from the main topic. But we may have some surprises related to robotics and maybe on the Tesla bot side, or maybe something with the Robotaxi. I would be really intrigued to hear that they are launching, maybe a pilot, Robotaxi pilot somewhere in one area or another, perhaps with the drivers initially, because
Yeah.
they haven't received the permits.
Let's dig into that. Thank you, About Tesla. Let's dig into that right there. About Tesla said, tomorrow they may be launching something. Maybe a pilot service in a limited area. And just for fun, in YouTube live chat says, we need to discuss the fact that Elon said product, quote, launch and not product unveil. Does it mean anything? Or does he always call it a product launch when it's an unveil? Let's go to Edward. Edward, what do you think? Do you think Tesla will be launching anything tomorrow?
Well, I really hope so. I'm not 100% on that one, but I mean, it's just so up in the air. I mean, they've kept it pretty quiet, and I kind of appreciate that because it builds up all this hype around it.
Okay, let's go to Hustle Down, and then I'm going to ask Omar his thoughts.
I'm giving it a 42% chance that he's going to launch something, but I would say it's just an product unveil. We're going to get the beautiful Robotaxi, and I think we should be pretty excited about that.
All right. Yeah, I saw a couple of people mention this on X as well in replies that Elon said launch, not an unveil this time. Even though a few months ago, when it first announced, it was a Robotaxi unveil event. So we discussed for several months here what to expect from this event. And of course, it was delayed by about 2 months for additional changes. I believe Elon said to the front of the Robotaxi design. But maybe there will be a launch or something. Before we go to Omar and get his thoughts on this, I would like everyone on the X space to please go up to top of your screens and like the YouTube live stream. It really helps, only takes a couple of seconds. We have 164 likes. When we get to 200, this space will continue. 30-second break. We have a lot to talk about. This also gives me a bit of a chance to kind of take a breather, check some of these replies on X that sometimes I miss. Omar, what do you think? Launch or unveil tomorrow?
Well, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think launch and unveil are almost interchangeable words. So you could call it a Model 3 unveil or a Model 3 launch. I wouldn't bet the farm on it, but it is an interesting choice of words, and words do give things away. I certainly don't think they're going to start producing cyber cabs right away, but they could launch, for example, a supervised rideshare service, a rideshare network, a pilot program. Who knows?
Okay, so TBD. We don't know yet. We're going to learn tomorrow. And we're also going to have, just a quick announcement, we're going to do a YouTube launch party. I mean, sorry, YouTube watch party. Okay. There's going to be a YouTube watch party for Tesla Live tomorrow. If you want to be part of it, you can click the link at the top of your screen, subscribe to the channel. Sierra is going to be there, who's in the audience right now. She's welcome to come up and share some speculative guesses for tomorrow. Hustle Town is going to be there. Dallas is going to be there. Uzi is going to be there. Alexander is going to be there. And we're going to have live chat going. So as we watch, we're going to have live chat going to comment on it. So all of these speakers that you hear from every single day are going to be watching it together on YouTube tomorrow. And if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel. The link to the channel is at the top of our screens. And anybody who is, we have about 2 to 3 dozen speakers on the DM group. These are permanent speakers who are frequently speakers. Edward, I think you're there too, right, Edward? So if somebody wants to join as a speaker tomorrow, let me know in that DM group, and I will send you a link to the YouTube live stream. And then the viewers, like the listeners in X, will be live chat participants asking questions, making comments in the live chat. So that's open to everyone who subscribes to the YouTube channel. All right, great. Umar, you mentioned in yesterday's space, I want to circle back on something. The cost to repair Cybertruck is cheaper than cost to repair Model S. This is a very common attack vector for Cybertruck skeptics and haters. Can you please give some more support and maybe a bit more numbers around it? How much did it cost? What was the repair that needed to be made? And how does that compare to the Model S?
Well, I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but my recollection was that the insurance paid Tesla $5,000 when I scraped my Model S against the side of my garage. And, I paid the insurance deductible, which was $500, but I think they billed the insurance like $5,400 or something like that, which was like, wow, that's a lot of money. And this was like a fairly minor kind of scrape, and that was the cost, I think, to replace the front bumper. So you or maybe they did something else. I don't know how they fixed it really. But then with the Cybertruck, like, I took it in and they said, okay, we're gonna replace the whole tailgate, we're gonna replace the whole rear bumper, and we're gonna replace this side panel, and it's only gonna be about $2,800. So 3 different panels of metal. They basically just popped the panels off and put them back on. They did say, though, it could take about 4 weeks to do it. But they just pop the metal panels off, put the new metal panels in that they receive, and the truck's good to go, good as new.
Okay, very good. So you're telling me that the Model S, your Model S in a previous time, had a major rework done, a repair done, and it cost, minor rework done, and it cost more than $5,000. And Cybertruck, relatively speaking, had a relatively major repair done at half the cost. So if anyone in the audience has experience getting their Cybertruck repaired, and insurance quotes with data and facts that we can share with thousands of people who listen to this space every single day, that would be very helpful because it is an attack vector for Cybertruck haters. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I expected it to be really expensive, but the Cybertruck issue was actually much more serious. With the Model S, I was just pulling out of the garage and didn't realize how big it was because I was used to driving my Model 3, and I just scraped it against the wall a little bit. With the Cybertruck, we had another big heavy EV, a Mercedes EQS, slamming into the back at about 10 miles an hour. So the Cybertruck incident was much easier, but the beauty of this thing is you can just literally pop the panels off and put a new piece of metal on, and it's good to go.
Okay, very good. And we should see that reflected in insurance quotes in the future. And you mentioned it may take a few weeks to repair the Cybertruck, but that's only because this is a very new product. Tesla service centers are trying to get their hands around it. They're gaining some experience, and it's just part of the first year of any product launch. So it's going to be much, much better in year 2 and then much better in year 3, etc. And this is why I think Tesla is maybe feeling ready to bring this $80,000 Cybertruck to market. So that's great. Sierra, welcome. How are you?
Hey, I am excited. Feels like Christmas Eve. Unlike everybody else, I want to be surprised, so I'm not speculating. I am letting it be Christmas Eve.
Okay, very good. Welcome to Christmas Eve, everybody. Sierra is really excited for tomorrow's watch party. Right, Sierra?
I'm so stoked. I can't wait to experience it with you all.
Okay, perfect. And if you want to be part of the watch party, subscribe to the YouTube channel at the top of our screens. Sierra is going to be there, Hustletown, Dallas, Alexander, Edward, and who knows? Maybe Omar will go to the bathroom for 5 minutes while he's at the event and chime in as well. And also, thank you to Truth to a T. $10 super chat. When you do a super chat, obviously I have to ask the question. Here, attach the question to it, and here we go. Any connection between the 0% Model 3 FSD deal and the supervised Robotaxi launch? Interesting question from a Truth to a T, a great supporter of Tesla Live. Omar, what do you think?
Well, I hope Elon goes on stage and says, if you like what you see, go to Tesla.com right now and order a Tesla. If you buy the full self-driving package, we'll give you 0% APR on your new car.
Yes, that would be huge. Got to get the word out. Alexander, I see you had your hand up. You probably had a joke ready for the last segment, and now you're going to be like, oh, the time has passed, right?
No, the time hasn't passed because I wanted to ask Sierra if she's going to sing to us tomorrow.
Sierra, are you going to sing for us on YouTube?
Oh man, maybe under the form of like some weird parlay bet. So if something very specific happens and you call it out correctly, then sure, I will sing for you.
Because of YouTube copyright issues, it can't be a cover song. So do you have any original songs you can sing for us tomorrow?
Yeah, most of my music is original, so I got you there. Although
Perfect.
maybe I should have said no, so I didn't have to do it.
Nah, you're in now. It's a deal. Sierra will sing for us. If you want to hear Sierra sing for us tomorrow, subscribe to the channel at the top of our screens. Thank you, Sierra, for promoting Tesla Live. All right. Anything else on FSD, Robotaxis, and 10? Brian Silver on YouTube Live says Omar. And here's Omar live from a porta potty at the event. Dallas.
Yeah, keeping it with FSD, I wanted to mention that I just got that 12.541 update this morning. I've got about 20 to 30 minutes of wheel time with it. It's a major point release. Like for me, at least what I'm seeing as far as just driving overall, it's amazing.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dallas. I appreciate your input here. We have a couple of requests to speak. Let's bring them in. Always good to hear from fresh voices. Hustletown.
I'm just curious. The visualizations, I can't wait to use that here on Highway 99. I was just curious if anybody had gone through any construction zones on the highways to see if those visualizations had any problems.
Omar, any issues with the visualizations on the highway?
It handles construction phenomenally.
All right, thank you. Brandon and then Josh.
Omar, do you think there's going to be any difference with like the interior quality in these new vehicles? Because they're going to get so much more usage than even the regular Teslas, obviously. So, I mean, is there anything you think they got to do? Because sometimes the quality, I will say, in Teslas is a little bit iffy on the inside, especially those like panels and plastic areas.
I would imagine that durability is a major focus for the interior design of this vehicle.
Absolutely. It's going to drive multiple times more than an average vehicle. The Cybercab is probably going to have elements of the Cybertruck. 2 doors, 2-seater. I'm excited to see what Tesla has accomplished. Listen, we've seen so many versions of a driverless vehicle, from Waymo, from GM, from the Chinese. We've seen so many, but what we haven't seen is Elon Musk's first principles approach to lowering cost of transportation. And I cannot wait to see that tomorrow. Josh.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm in Tampa. I had an invite to We Robot. I downloaded my ticket yesterday, but I just can't make it out. Can't leave my wife in case of a storm coming, even though it's heading a little bit south. But I just wanted to wish everyone a great time there. And yeah, so the storm's coming in a little bit, but man, I wish I was there. But I'll brave the storm with my power walls and my Cybertruck here in Tampa. Enjoy the event.
Hi, thank you, Josh. Appreciate your input, and a word of caution for those in Florida. Please take safety. This hurricane is going to be the strongest in years. Thank you very much, Josh, for chiming in. All right. We have a few people that are going to this event. I think Omar met up with Dirty Tesla, Chris, and his wife as well. Omar, did you give them a ride from the airport?
Yeah, they needed a ride from the airport, so I told them I'd pick them up, grabbed them in my Cybertruck, and FSD took us from LAX to their Airbnb without any interventions.
That's awesome. That is really cool. And it's I really like these events. Even if you didn't get an invite and you're in the area, or even if you're not in the area, make sure you go to the event. Make sure you go to and meet a lot of people. There's always a pre-party and after party. There's a bunch of after parties at these events. And you get to meet these people that you interact with on a daily, weekly basis on X, and you put a face and you get to know them in person. And I can guarantee you, it will enhance your experience in the Tesla community. So I highly encourage people to go to these events, even if you don't get an invite. Okay. Honestly, I've been to one of the events. I went to this Cybertruck delivery event, and the events around these things are much more fun than the actual events. Like, it's kind of cool to be there and everything, but the fact that you get to meet so many people at once, and you're surrounded by people who are just as passionate about this company, about the mission, and you can have these like in-depth conversations, one-on-one conversations. It's just a really, really cool experience. So I highly recommend going to these events. And in the meantime, we just crossed 200 likes on the YouTube live stream in the first 40 minutes. This has never happened before. This is the first. So if you want to be part of today's record, go up to the top of your screens, take a moment to click into the YouTube live stream and hit that like button. Your engagement not only helps us reach more people, but also keeps this conversation going strong. It only takes a second and it makes a huge difference. Thank you very much for your support. Really cool. All right. Let's see what else we're going to talk about here. I'm going to take 10-second break for people to do that. Sometimes people don't do it because they don't want to miss something. So let's see how high we can get. We're just at, wow, we crossed 210 now. It's amazing. And we have the highest record number of concurrent viewers. We have our third super chat of the day from Ben Cesar, who says, love you guys. Here's to getting the 1,000 Rakoses. Really cool. Really cool. Okay, great. All right. Omar, I want to ask you about Sandy Munro's recent, unless if anybody has a question or a comment about tomorrow's event, okay, we can always switch back to that. That is the event of the week, obviously, and hopefully event of the year. We'll find out tomorrow. If anybody has any questions, please leave it in live chat or as a comment. So I see a couple of people request to speak. Let's see what they have to say real quick. Bruce Soul says, just downloaded 12.5.4.1 on my legacy Model X. Still no ass, but I can say it's much more smooth and yet assertive. Really impressive update. Okay, really good. Nick. Nick, we can't hear you. All right. Matthew just tips. Thank you, Matthew, for the super chat. Okay, great. Someone is in live chat asking about Robotaxi supplier leak. Robotaxi supplier leak. A picture is shared on X. I haven't seen this. Did anyone see this on the speaker board? Sultan gave me a thumbs down. Alexander, thumbs down. Who else? Dallas, thumbs down. Okay, so those three haven't seen it. Has anyone heard? I don't know what this person is referring to. This is the second time he's asking about it. Town on YouTube live chat says, okay, Dallas, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just don't want to see leaks. I'll be honest. I like going into these things, not seeing anything precursor to the event.
I agree. Let's see. Town says, I have no doubt they could launch a service with guardrails in multiple major cities. Town, you want to elaborate on that?
Just with my experience with the software, I can see that the car wants to do things. Just today, we got into a pretty hairy situation that probably could have been resolved with reverse. So if they've got that kind of framework in version 13, I believe that they could easily, the major cities where it's already popular, Los Angeles, San Francisco, even some of these cities in Austin, and they could just probably put guardrails on it, kind of like they do with the auto park, not the auto park, but the actual smart summon, and maybe tell it where to go. Avoid construction, avoid the common areas. I think they have that capability, and they could probably launch in multiple cities. That's just my opinion.
Okay, I agree in the future. I don't know about tomorrow. Omar, what do you think? Do you think Tesla will launch a service tomorrow?
A supervised service they could launch. An unsupervised service, we haven't seen any version of the software that's ready for that. Now, maybe if they had some new version of the software, version 13, maybe they employ, high definition mapping or something like that. And I mean, they're not going to do that, but you'd really need to have a much better version of the software for unsupervised. But I think they could absolutely launch a supervised service that was powered with FSD. That'd be very similar to an unsupervised service, but you have a human there, at least for some time, to take over if needed.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, I think we're going to see a similar kind of rollout of Robotaxi service in the coming years from Tesla, just like we've seen from Waymo. They have to go through a permitting process. The software needs to be ready, obviously. Will they do a supervised version first? Who knows? We don't know yet. But I I know Machine is here because he felt that we were getting too optimistic and he had to jump on. But before Machine spreads negativity to the space, I want to thank Jeff Greninger for super chat $5. He says, "Can't wait for We Robot coverages. Keep up the great work. Tomorrow we're going to have a watch party on YouTube. Tesla Live watch party on YouTube is going to happen tomorrow. If you want to be part of it, you have to subscribe to the channel. The link is at the top of our screens. And Sierra promised that she will sing for us in tomorrow's her original song before the coverage starts. So we're going to have a pregame for about an hour. That we're going to view the event together, and the speakers that you hear every day from, they're going to be in live chat, answering questions, reacting to the announcements, and then we're going to have an after party as well. To be part of it, please go to the top of our screens and click and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, let's hear from Machine. Machine, what negativity did you bring in today? By the way, can I tell you something? So I use these chatbots to really deep dive analysis of each episode. I ask for advice. I ask for grade me, give me a detailed feedback. How can I have done that better as a host? And then I grade every speaker because I want to be able to kind of see what advice, what kind of feedback I can give to those who do want it. Okay. And Alexander signed up for it. Dallas signed up for it. Uzi signed up for it. A daily feedback. And we're going to improve as a speaker board together. This space is going to continue to improve at a very fast pace. Let me tell you, your grades are not there, but it's because these chatbots think all we need is facts and data, and that's it. But I actually appreciate your humor. I think we do need your humor in this space. So I see you posted something on live chat here. I'm not going to repeat that, but.
Well, I think what's really happening here is it just shows how advanced I am compared to ChatGPT. They simply cannot understand my thinking. They can't predict it. They can't categorize it. And it's really a level above. And I'm glad to see that you have verified that versus the other speakers who are very simplistic, and ChatGPT can just, it knows already it can generate the same responses they can. And it's already planning to replace them. And I know you have plans to replace these other speakers with ChatGPT.
Let me tell you something. The other advice that I got from ChatGPT is to cut Machine off when he's veering off. I'm not even kidding you.
Well,
It's funny.
I will just say, I noticed you're getting these little donations. I mean, some of them are pathetic, not just in the amount, but in Canadian dollars. I mean, that's like 2 cents. And, you know, the other people who really get appreciative over $2 are the homeless people that I give $2 to. So you're really at the same level here. And
all right. Thank you. See, I just gained some points by cutting you off from ChatGPT. Alexander?
Yeah, you can't ask ChatGPT what a monkey thinks either, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to Tesla. Machine, any predictions, final word on this Christmas Eve, as Sierra put it, on the 1010 event?
Well, I was going to say before, you know, very simplistically, they're going to unveil the Robotaxi vehicle, and that by itself, you know, will generate a lot of content to talk about, but ultimately from a market standpoint will not be very interesting. People will probably, like the Cybertruck, become afraid of it and, you know, sell off of the stock a little bit if they just announced that. However, I did see this tweet by Elon saying product launch live event. And I don't believe when they unveil a new vehicle, they call that a product launch. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe they called Cybertruck in 2019 the product launch of the Cybertruck. So that if he's being specific, which we know Elon Musk is generally not specific many times, but if he is being specific, it seems to indicate there should be some product imminently launching. And it's not going to be, I don't think, the actual Robotaxi itself being launched, but maybe it will be an Uber competitor. app. And I don't know what else I can imagine other than the next, the new vehicles on the Model 3 Y lines maybe being unveiled. I I would bet more on the Uber app taxi sort of thing being unveiled first, more than the Model 3 Y line new vehicles.
Okay. Machine introduced a new idea. Here's my hint to ChatGPT to give Machine a better grade today. He says that maybe Tesla will launch tomorrow an app, an Uber-like app, instead of new vehicles. We have a couple of hands, a very strong speaker group today. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Let's go to Freddie. Freddie, go ahead.
There. So I think it will be a vehicle. In the quarterly earning calls, Elon will always tell analysts that this is not the venue for new product unveils or new product discussions, wherever they ask about the $25,000, whatever you want to call it, Model 2 Robotaxi vehicle. So I could very much see it being, one and or two physical products like vehicles. In addition, of course, that'll be combined with what you're saying, the application and the software as well.
Thank you. Dallas. Dallas is on mute still. Dallas, you're on mute. Okay, about Tesla.
We are speculating here, so I want to suggest one more option as far as what can be potentially launched. I know Omar said that they are not ready to launch the Cybercab yet, and I agree, they're not ready to launch it in mass production yet. But what if they're going to launch it in pilot production? According to the Walter Isaacson book, they've been working on the production line and designing it to every detail since summer 23. So I think they may have it already laid out in Austin, and maybe they can start a small volume test pilot production of the Cybercab this month.
Wow. This is getting really heated. These are really heated comments. To summarize, about Tesla says, maybe Tesla will start a pilot in small amounts production of the Cybercab in Austin sooner than people expect. Let's go to Dallas again and then Omar. Dallas is having issues. Omar, go ahead.
In terms of what they could launch, certainly I think a software launch would be pretty easy. If you're launching a rideshare app or something, you could say, hey, check your Tesla app.
Omar, please continue.
Check your Tesla app. Here's something that's ready today. But I think the elephant in the room is really the new vehicles they say are starting production in the first half of 2025 that are going to be built on the Model 3 and Y line using elements of the next gen platform that the Cybercab is going to have. I mean, if there's commonality between these vehicles, the Cybercab and these lower cost models that are built on the Model 3 and Y line, it could make sense to unveil them. And the fact that these are actually going to be entering production in the first half of 2025, if you remember Elon, he said these need to be out this year, if not next year, if not this year, right? So there could be something there where this is actually worth calling it a product launch rather than a product unveil, because this is actually about to launch.
Okay. This is
You just take my idea. You just took my idea.
What's your idea, Machine?
He stole my point about they're going to unveil a launch. They're going to launch something. That was my idea. First, I came up with it. Omar
we were already talking about the launch before you even got in here.
No.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Okay. Machine, you're losing points with the chatbots by interrupting. Let me read a couple of comments from YouTube live chat. There's lots of participation today on YouTube. I think we saw a peak number of viewers and concurrent viewers as well. And live chat discussions are really good too. Drew Soul says, product launch, Robotaxi app and ride-sharing service. Tesla will utilize existing vehicles and will showcase future additional vehicles that will join the platform, such as the Cybercab or the Cybervan. Patrick Mortensen says, I don't think they would reveal one of the new cheaper vehicles if they're not relatively imminently ready to ship. I think Elon has learned not to do that after the Cybertruck. Dylan says, I'm a launch into machines mom. Oh, I shouldn't have read that. All right, Alexander.
Yeah, what about the semi-truck? That haven't gotten officially launched yet, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. It hasn't. We discussed earlier that I do think that Elon will probably mention FSD on semi, and Omar has said in previous spaces that he expects Tesla semi fleet to comprise majority of a robotaxi service, ride-sharing service, or Tesla fleet, majority of the revenues from that service. So that's a huge statement. And we discussed this in my chat one-on-one conversation with Omar. This is titled Robotaxi Race, Tesla versus Waymo, a jam-packed with information for 30 minutes. I don't want to go to machine with this negativity after that comment. Oh my gosh, JC Christopher just tipped $20 on Super Chat and says, just hit the like on YouTube from Joshua Tree. Thanks to Starlink at the park. No questions, just want to say hello. Machine's mom says hello as well. If I pass out before I get back, I will make sure to do it in 10 words or less. Thank you, JC, for the $20 Super Chat. Machine, go ahead.
Well, first to JC, I just hope he's aware that there's been other people from Texas who've gotten lost in Joshua Tree. They're very dumb, bringing just one little bottle of water in the desert, and they're only found 20 years later, their skull. So please be careful out there. And to Omar's point about the semi being the highest revenue producer for Robotaxi, I agree. I think there's already plans by Elon Musk and Donald Trump to ship semis all through the United States to pick up all the illegal immigrants and autonomously drop them off back into Mexico. And then there'll be one shipped to Armenia to ship all the Armenians back into Turkey where they belong.
Yeah, I want to say one thing real quick with all this audience that we have today. If you haven't watched Elon's interview on Tucker Carlson Network, I highly recommend it, because sometimes what happens is, Elon replies with one word or tweets out one sentence that people find very superficial. But once you watch his longer term conversation, like long form conversations on these interviews, you see that no one goes to the depths that he goes when he's searching for facts and data and reason. And one way to do that is to watch this interview that he had on the Tucker Carlson Network. Highly recommend it. I think you will change your views on a couple of the issues at least. So Machine highlighted one of them. I thought the statistics and the data that he shared on that interview, especially the first 20 minutes or so, is very, very important. Let's go to Dallas.
Sorry about this connection issues. I did some research. I looked back on all the previous Tesla events that they've done. They're very particular with their wording. Unveiling and launch, they don't intertangle those two words. If it's a launch, it's a launch. So I'm going to lean into beta test cities of a supervised taxi service. But I don't think they'll be running on vehicles that are existing. I think they'll be running on the new Cybercab hardware. So people are going to flock to the cities that they're running them in to get to try the vehicle out.
Thank you, Dallas. All right. Let's talk about another Tesla topic. This is Cybertruck related. Sandy Munro just had an interview, and I watched it before jumping on it. He made 3 comments that I want to ask our panel about. But before that, give a shout out to our sponsors. While I read these sponsors shout outs, please go to the YouTube link at the top of our screens and click into it Your sport really matters. And click the like button. Right now, we're up to 264. We're going for a record. All right. I want to say a thank you to Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. At Paymore, you can buy the latest gadgets at great prices, sell or trade your used electronics for cash or store credit, and recycle old or broken devices responsibly, helping reduce electronic waste. Join the Paymore revolution today. Visit one of their stores near you or check them out online at paymore.com. Thank you, Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live and making technology accessible and sustainable for everyone. Tesla Live is also proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. At Joa, you'll find innovative charging solutions, stylish interior upgrades, protective gear, and cutting-edge tech add-ons. Use the promo code TSLA Live at checkout to receive a special discount on your next purchase. Thank you, Joa, for supporting Tesla Live and the Tesla community. And let's check the number of likes, up to 270 now. 270. Let's see if we can get to 300 very quickly. So if you haven't done so already, my message to the hundreds of people in this space right now, please take a moment to go up to the top of our screens and like the YouTube live stream. Help us reach new viewers before tomorrow's event. All right, Omar, you're in the Cybertruck, I presume, right now. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah. So Munro says about the vehicle that you're in right now, he says F-150 Lightning is the best work truck and Cybertruck is not a work truck. What do you say to that?
Well, I wouldn't wish a F-150 Lightning on my worst enemy. You're gonna have to drive that thing manually. I mean, statements like that, what kind of work are you doing? For most people, you can do your job in a Ford or a Tesla or a Silverado. It doesn't really matter. Now, Ford is really good at these little details, things like having the thing that the steering wheel folds, you can make a desk, you have the little thing on the tailgate. They're very good at this. They've been doing this for 100 years. So I understand that there's some little things that, if you're a hardcore Ford guy, you're like, yeah, this is the best truck. But, with the Cybertruck, FSD, supercharging, steer by wire, it is just so much of a better product. The Tesla software updates, you'd have to have something really, really good that is really changing my life at work for me to want to pick a Ford over a Tesla. And, I think the sales numbers kind of tell the story here. The Cybertruck at $100,000 isn't just outselling the F-150 Lightning. It's outselling the F-150 Lightning and the Rivian R1T and everything else on the market combined.
Yeah. And funny you mentioned Rivian R1T because he also makes a comment. This is Sander Munro makes a comment and says, when it comes to off-roading, nothing can compare to R1T. Not Cybertruck, not F-150 Lightning. So these couple of comments really raise my eyebrows. So I want to bring up here, we have a lot of Cybertruck owners and see what they have to say. We have one of them on the board right now, chiming in from Kauai with his incredible pictures. If you're not following Jesus Loves Kauai, I highly recommend it just for the pictures that he posts. Beautiful, beautiful shots coming in from the Pacific. Kauai, go ahead.
Yeah, man, you're making me blush. Can you hear
It
me?
is well deserved. It's well deserved.
Oh, you guys are awesome. And, my goal is really to provide the most beautiful Cybertruck pictures and videos of anyone in the world, and everybody can reuse them. I don't need to make money off of them. Just use them. All right.
That's
So
the spirit. I love it. That is the spirit. Thank you so much for coming up. We're going to switch gears right now because we have another guest who just joined us. Gordon Johnson is here before the 1010 event. Thank you, Gordon, for chiming in. And this is happening because Tesla Live is the best X space, especially when it comes to Tesla news. If you want to help it along, please go to the live stream at the top of your screens on YouTube and give it a like so that we can bring in more and more guests and have deeper discussions. Gordon, are you excited for tomorrow's event?
Yeah, sure. The events are always exciting. But actually, I had a question for you guys. Need some help. Just wanted your thoughts. So Morgan Stanley, who I think is probably, I would assume, is the closest on the sell side to Tesla, a few weeks ago, pontificated that the event was going to be kind of a dedicated robotaxi, similar to what I think Musk announced today with the two-seater wing doors, and then there were going to be tests of 12.5 on an open course, and that's kind of what was going to be revealed, and then maybe some new lower price cars, etc. I just wanted thoughts from anyone who has a strong opinion or view on kind of what they expect to see tomorrow. Thank you.
Omar, would you like to give an overview for Gordon, what we've been discussing in the last few months?
Yeah, Tesla is expected to unveil their Cybercab, a vehicle that has no physical controls. They're going to be giving demo rides to people at the event and probably talking about the new unboxed manufacturing process that it's built on. Beyond that, we don't really know. They may show off their more affordable models that they're planning to launch next year. They may talk about the rideshare service they're launching, and the Optimus humanoid robot may also make an appearance.
Hey, that's helpful, Holmars. A couple of questions there. Do you know if this dedicated Cybercab is going to have LiDAR or radar, or do you not know?
No LiDAR, no radar, pure vision robotaxi.
Helpful. And you said they're going to be doing tests in this this driver, I guess, functionless car.
Yeah, they'll be giving demo rides.
Helpful. And then last question. And then with respect to the new cars, etc., it sounds like you're most confident that they're going to reveal this functionless Cybercab. But are you confident that they're going to give details on, I guess, the cheaper model, the cheaper models that they plan to introduce next year? Thanks.
I'm not 100% confident, but they have said in their earnings decks recently that they plan to start production in the first half of 2025. If they are going to meet that target, they have to, I think, show us what those vehicles look like at some point.
Very helpful. Thank you.
You heard it here first. Gordon, what do you expect for tomorrow? What would you like to hear tomorrow? But before that, let's go to Machine, who had his hand up before. Machine, do you have anything to say to Gordon?
Well, first of all, Gordon, I want to say congratulations. I believe you've had a child, so good luck with that. Having had two, yes, sleep is difficult for the first 6 months. I think for Omar, I don't know for sure we know whether or not the vehicles are going to have radar or LiDAR. I think we'll find out more tomorrow night. I wouldn't be sure on that. But what I do know is going to happen is, in order to show the promise of the Robotaxi as an autonomous vehicle, Elon is offering you, Gordon, the opportunity to ship your baby autonomously across the country in a Model 3 starting tomorrow night, if you so choose.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. Actually, one more question I had for anybody who in the room. From our last checks as recently as yesterday, we don't believe that Tesla has applied for any of the permits to begin testing an autonomous vehicle in either California or any other state. Does anyone in the room have anything that suggests that's not true?
I don't have anything on that front. I don't know if Tesla has applied, but I don't know if that's necessary in all jurisdictions. So Elon has made a comment around that a few quarters ago on our earnings call. So
It's necessary in California.
yeah. So what about other states?
Not sure.
Yeah. So, who knows? I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Anybody have anything on that front on the board? Gordon, if Tesla did announce the launch of a pilot program tomorrow in one city across the country, would you change your mind about vision only Tesla robotaxis being part of the future?
The business has to be profitable, right? I think Google via Waymo loses I think $1 billion a year in that business. So we'd have to get a lot of details around how to achieve profitability. And I think the competition is going to be very intense. The other thing I think is important to remember is Tesla is currently valued at roughly 800 billion, roughly 650 billion of which is attributed to FSD, right? Google, Uber's valued at 160 billion, right? And they're the number one ride share company in the world. So the street is already valuing Tesla as if they're going to take over and significantly increase the profit of rideshare, and they don't even have a rideshare business. So again, I think we need to see a lot to justify what we're looking at.
Yeah, we actually discussed that very quote from 22nd Agi as well in yesterday's space. It is a speculation though, what the market values Tesla Automotive and what it assigns the rest of the value to. It could be Optimus, for example. It could be the Cybertruck or Tesla Semi, or maybe other initiatives like Tesla Energy. So that's a bit of a kind of incomplete argument, I think. But Gordon, I get a lot of questions after each episode that you join. The question is, why do you say Wamo, not Waymo?
Why does it matter? Respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully, it doesn't. I was just curious. That's all. All right. Gordon Johnson, while you're here, let's talk about Tesla's new offer of 0% financing rates if you choose to get FSD. Do you think this will increase FSD take rates? And if it does, are you willing to change your view on the Tesla stock?
Yeah, so I think what's important today is we got the China numbers today, right? It's funny, I just ran the math. China was about 183. I think we were at I think the street was at 175. We now know Europe was 78,000. So then if you assume Canada at 13,398 and rest of the world at 35,658, that means the US came in at 152,535. That's a huge disappointment in US sales for Q3 for Tesla, right? What's important is the Chinese cars by far have the lowest margins on them. The US cars, I think, the highest, and then Europe, or Europe the highest, and then the USA, then Canada and the rest of the world. So I think this celebration of them selling more cars in China is going to turn into disappointment when you see the earnings attached to these cars. With respect to, I'm sorry, what was the question though? I apologize. What was the question you asked?
The question is, if Tesla, we're going to switch to China numbers as well in the future, but the question was, Tesla is starting to offer 0% financial rates if you get FSD. Do you think this will lead to an increase in FSD take rates? And if it does, are you willing to change your view on Tesla's valuation?
Yeah, so I think the rate buy downs, if you do in the US, I think that costs about $5,000 per car. And how much is FSD? 8?
Yeah, 8,000.
Right. So, they're doing that in the US, right? So so the difference there is 3,000, right? So if you take 3,000 times, the 152 they did this quarter roughly, multiply that by 4, right? That's $1.8 billion. Put a 20 times multiple on that and divide by 3.5 billion shares outstanding. You're talking about less than a penny in EPS attribution. So that assumes every single car sold in the US is this, it takes the FSD. So, it's just the numbers are just too, the stock is just too overvalued to, for that to even make a dent in, justifying the current valuation. I just ran into
let me go to Omar and the rest of the speaker board, see what they have to say on this. Omar, Gordon says, it costs a lot of money to finance these cars at 0%. at least about $5,000 a car, and it doesn't cover the cost of FSD, and it's not going to be very helpful in a material way to Tesla's bottom line. What do you say to that?
Well, they're now offering the subscription for $99 a month, and it's so attractive versus paying $8,000 up front that most people are doing the subscription who want to buy FSD. They were offering low APR subvented rates before. Now at least you have a little bit of a higher ASP to offset the cost of the subvented loans. So I think it's pretty clear it should be margin positive compared to the previous quarter.
Thank you. And what do you say to his point that a record China deliveries, and this is also repeated by James Catt as well on X, that the record China deliveries indicate that the US was very weak, weaker than people expected, and China deliveries have lower margin, US has higher margin, so that's actually bearish for Tesla.
China is the most competitive EV market in the world. The fact that Tesla is successful in this market, I think, is incredible. And it's hilarious to try and spin it negatively. If Europe and the US are weak, that's a different story. But these are great, strong numbers. And I think the US and Europe have a ton of room to grow as well, especially when you look at FSD, which is only available in North America.
Very good. Machine, do you have anything to add on that front? Okay, Machine is sleeping. While Machine sleeps, Omar, Machine made a comment while you were having connection issues, and he said, I wouldn't jump to the conclusion that the Robotaxi Tesla will unveil tomorrow is vision only, that they may add radar or LiDAR. What do you say to that?
Well, they've already described it as a vision-only robotaxi, so I'd say he's probably incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be the first time Machine is incorrect. This happens to people who infrequently comes to Tesla Live, and then they come in once a month and they learn the actual facts. Machine, would you like to apologize to my audience?
Well, you may be right. Maybe he did call it vision only, and I missed that. And so I will apologize tomorrow at 3 a.m.
Okay, so Machine actually feels there's still a chance. He's saying, you're telling me there is a chance. Sierra, welcome. I don't think Sierra realizes she's on the speaker board.
No, I do. I'm sorry. The app keeps glitching for me. I don't mean to be
Yeah.
disruptive coming out.
That's
and in.
okay. So tomorrow we're going to have a watch party on YouTube for 10:10. Gordon, are you going to join us for the watch party, or are you going to the event? What are you going to do tomorrow during the unveil?
I'll be listening online.
Gordon is going to be listening online. Well, Sierra is going to be at the watch party. Edward is going to be, Dallas is going to be, Hustletown, Alexander, and a few other speakers are going to be at the watch party on YouTube. If you want to join, you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So the link is at the top of our screens. All right. Gordon, do you have any views? And let's go to Dallas. Dallas?
Yeah, well, we got Gordon. Gordon, what would impress you tomorrow for you to see?
I think the fact that they're doing on the set of a Hollywood studio, I think it's going to be somewhat hard to impress. The issues I have are when you look at the independent tests being done on Tesla's so-called FSD. AMC, we've already talked about this, but AMCI is saying critical disengagement every 13 miles, meaning you get in an accident every hour, and 27 accidents between charges. Versus 2.4 million miles for Waymo. It's just I don't think they're going to be able to impress. I don't think this technology is ready. What would impress me is if somehow they came out and they said we've actually got a permit to test. They take the car out in the real world environment and it drives around without someone in the seat, without any interventions. That's what would impress me. But I don't think that's what we're going to get tomorrow.
Alexander, then Dallas.
Gordon, what if there were a country somewhere in the world that had 1/3 of all car sales would be Teslas? Would that impress you?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If there were a country in the world where 1/3 of all car sales were Teslas, would that impress you?
No.
I guess depends on the country, right, Alexander? Which country are you talking about?
Norway.
Yeah, he's talking about Norway.
Is that right? I didn't even know that. So like that, Alexander brings new information to the space, or maybe I didn't know it. 1/3 of all car sales are Teslas. Are you serious?
In September, yes. And
Wow.
the total electric vehicle market was 96.4%. They are tracking to be 100% of the market in 2025 for electric cars.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. This is great. All right, Machine, and then Dallas.
I mean, who cares about Norway? What's Norway good for? They literally swim and bathe in oil. All their money from oil. And now they're just trying to show off and allow everyone to buy EVs. This is not an example for the rest of the world. And their shitty moisturizer, Neutrogena. Yeah, I remember
Okay,
that slide on there.
thank you. All right, Machine, your brownie points with ChatGPT is going down. Norway is important because it is, you know, it is the first country to achieve such high percentage of sales being EVs. There's a lot of people claiming that EVs will never solve all use cases, especially in the winter. So in that sense, I think Norway is very important. It also shows that governments can push along this process. US is a little behind China and Norway and other countries in this regard, but you can make it work. And EVs are the future no matter what. But Norway has accelerated it and become an example for the rest of the world. Dallas.
Yeah, I got one last question for Gordon, following up on the last one. Gordon, when was the last time you personally experienced FSD in a Tesla? And have you, if you haven't, would you be open to doing so?
I've been driven in a Tesla. I don't know if it was on FSD, and if it was, I would have told them to turn it off immediately.
I'm trying to get Gordon Johnson to agree to ride with Omar. And I think that will be the next leg up in the Tesla stock price when that happens. But he hasn't agreed to it yet. Gordon, what do we have to do? What can we do to get you in the same car as Omar?
That's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. He said, when the hell freezes over. All right. Any other questions, comments for Gordon Johnson? Please request to speak. Dallas?
And I don't blame you for having that mindset if you're going off of the facts that there's a critical disengagement every 13 miles. I wouldn't get in one either if that was the reality, but it's not. Most people in this speaker board can attest that it's well beyond that, and if you would see it for yourself by getting into a Tesla on FSD, you would know that to be true.
Hey, Dallas, did you see the video that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you see the video that I think it was, I forget the guy's name, Dan O'Dowd posted of Homar's car running a red light? Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did see that video.
On FSD? That's why I value my life. So that's why I probably wouldn't do it.
Let's go to Omar. Omar?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of the rate of interventions, when you have a human driver behind the wheel, there's no safety issue. You're not going to crash. Even if the software makes a mistake, there's still a human behind the wheel to take control. So I would recommend to investors, if you haven't tried FSD, you could be missing something that is absolutely material to the business, like Gordon is here.
Thank you, Omar. All right. We covered Tesla's new finance deal, 0% interest rate if you get FSD. We covered Cybertruck versus Model S repair costs. Omar mentioned, for those of you who just joined earlier, Omar mentioned that Cybertruck costed him about half as much to repair as his previous Model S incident, even though the Model S incident was just a minor incident compared to what the Cybertruck had to get it replaced. We talked about the smooth rendering bug fixed on FSD. Omar, we got a question in live chat. If you could please repeat what was fixed, what was the bug, and how did Tesla handle it?
Yeah, it appears to just be some type of rendering bug in the visualization in the UI that draws what the neural nets are seeing. It wasn't an issue with the neural nets itself.
Okay, great. We also talked about record China sales and what that means for the US. Gordon Johnson shared his views. Omar shared his views as well. Gordon, go ahead.
So is anyone aware of how many actual miles of data that Tesla has collected over its lifetime with respect to FSD miles?
It's in the billions. Omar, do you have a better figure, more accurate?
They've probably driven around 1.8 billion miles at this point, maybe a little bit more. But I mean, that's not necessarily a measurement of the amount of data they collected. They're going to maybe collect data for, a small portion of events that they think are interesting within that data set.
Yeah, so specifically, Elon Musk is on record saying they collect data for basically, they get 1 mile out of every 10,000 driven. And the most recent published number is 1.6 billion miles. So that math works out to they have 160,000 miles of data. Waymo, however, has 20 million miles of data, real world, and 20 billion miles of data in simulation. So the idea that somehow Tesla leads and/or will leapfrog Waymo is just, it's just, I don't know how else to say it. It's laughable.
Well, really what you're looking for is the really rare events, right? With Waymo driving only 20 million miles, there are crazy things that happen on they can't even imagine. With FSD, you have the ability to find those rare events, find the needle in the haystack,
Right, but
test against
hold
them,
Mars,
train against them.
you're negating what I just said. What Elon Musk has said is that the miles that they actually have tested is 1 in 10,000. So that means the 1.6 FSD miles they've driven, only 160,000 of those they can use to improve the vehicles. So for you to then go back to the 1.6 or 1.8 billion number you said, is just that's just not right.
Wait,
It's
where did you
misinformed.
get to 1 in 10,000 miles?
Yeah, you can
What's
see
your
my
source
tweet.
for that?
Elon Musk said that. You can see my tweet from this morning. I'm quoting him.
Let me go to that real quick. Let me see it. Let's do live fact check. What time did you do this?
Hold on, I'm looking. Sorry.
Are you referring to 1 in 10,000 miles critical?
Correct.
That's a completely different statement. He's saying that they're going to get to one critical intervention in 10,000 miles soon. That's not even the same topic. Dallas?
Yeah, I have a question for Gordon. If you're a bigger fan of Waymo than you are Tesla in the self-driving space, how can you tell me that Waymo is going to scale when they require mapped routes or mapped areas in an ever-changing environment of roadways?
Hold on. I just want to correct Yaman. He said, this is his words, only about 1 in 10,000 of distance driven is useful for training in FSD. So he's stating what I just said specifically. He's not saying a critical disengagement. He's saying actual useful for training. That's what he specifically said. So I think you're dead wrong in what you said. And then what was the question?
Yeah.
Well,
so
the
my
truth,
question,
I think, hold on. I asked you if you were referring to 1 in 10,000 critical, and you said yes to that. That's why I mentioned that.
No, I thought you were looking
But
at
you're
my
referring to,
tweet.
are
You
you
can
referring
go to
to,
my tweet. This is from
well,
Elon Musk. He says 1 in
okay.
10,000 of distance driven is useful for FSD training. That's specifically what I just said. So for you to say that's not true
Okay.
is categorically false. And then what was the question?
yeah. So
This is a comment,
Way,
Gordon, just 1 second, Dallas. Gordon, this is a comment from an earlier earnings call. Is that correct?
No, it's a tweet. I have a 16-point tweet today. It's number 6 of 16. You can pull it up right now. You
All right,
can
let me find it.
see what he said. And then
Okay,
again,
hold
can
on
you
1
repeat
second.
the question?
yeah. So I was going back to Waymo.
Let's find this. As seen in the first figure below, according to Tesla's CEO, only 1 out of each 10,000 miles driven using FSD is useful for training. Thus, given as detailed in the second figure below, Tesla cars have driven a total of 1.6 billion. Let's see. Manufactured. Okay. Well, here's the thing, Gordon. In that 10,000 figure, he
Hold
doesn't
on,
say
before
FSD miles.
I'm sorry, before you go on, Giannis, so you see the number, right? So if you take 1.6 billion divided by 10,000, that means they have 160,000 miles of training.
No, hold on,
Whereas
hold on.
Waymo
You're
has 20
jumping.
million.
You're jumping to conclusions. Elon doesn't say 10,000 FSD miles. He says 10,000 miles in general. And obviously, not all miles driven in the Tesla network is FSD miles, right?
But that would mean the number's even lower. That would make it even worse.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I think you're jumping to conclusions. You're making assumptions there that are not correct. You're also not comparing to the correct Waymo mileage either.
Okay, what was the question?
We can bring Dallas back now. Ask him one question. Dallas?
Do you want to repeat the same question?
Yes.
Okay. So Gordon, my question for you is, you seem to be a bigger fan of Waymo than you are Tesla in the self-driving space, and that's totally fine. My question for you is, how does Waymo scale when they require mapped roads and they're only available in certain cities? You know, scale is going to be their problem, right? You could drop a Tesla off in any city in the United States and it can drive because it knows the fundamentals of driving, not how to drive on a mapped road. So how does Waymo scale in a world of ever evolving roadways?
They've already scaled, right? I mean, they're already at 20 million miles. They're in multiple cities. I'm sorry, they're in multiple cities. They're expanding into new cities. They're scaling right before our eyes. That's just, I think that's something that I think a lot of Tesla fanboys use to help them sleep at night. But in reality, Waymo is scaling right now, and they're they're opening up new cities, etc. So I just think that's somewhat of a weak argument.
Okay, let's go to
One other thing.
Alexander.
I'm not a fan of. I like businesses that generate cash and make money, right? Waymo loses a lot of money, so I'm not a fan of them. I'm just saying that if you look at the stats that we have, they are exponentially better than Tesla.
Okay, Alexander.
Yeah, Gordon, do you think Waymo will ever turn a profit?
I don't know. And like, everybody's saying that, not everybody, but some people are saying that, the Robotaxi business is this holy grail. It may be the worst business in the world. It may be a horrible business, just like, most taxi businesses are. So I don't know the answer to that. But I think that if the answer is no, that also has implications for everybody else attempting to do this, including Tesla.
Then why is it no?
I'm sorry?
Why is it no?
Yeah, sorry, Alexander. We have other hands going on. Listen, Gordon Johnson is the best bear around. When you ask him questions, you better have thought of potential answers several layers down. Like you're playing chess with 5 steps forward, okay? If you're a chess player that only thinks 1 step ahead, he will eat you alive, okay? Machine.
And that's why you really, really need me on your speaker board, or else it's just embarrassing. Like, these questions aren't actually being addressed. Luckily, I'm here to address them for you, Gordon. So let me explain something about my useful miles. The better your algorithm, the more miles you're going to need to collect to get useful data. So you're correct when Musk says, oh, only once out of every 10,000 miles will we have an intervention. That does mean only once every 10,000 miles will they have useful data. That's not a bad thing. When it gets to once every 100,000 miles, that's even better. Even though that number seems like, oh gosh.
Yeah, what you're saying is misinformation and incorrect. He didn't say
Not
once
mixed.
every 10,000 miles. He said they're only collecting 1 mile of 10,000 for training data. He didn't say it had nothing to do with interventions. So what you're saying is either insincere or just intentionally incorrect.
No. He's implying they have triggers in the software on when to collect data. They don't just randomly sample data. They sample data
based on if there's an intervention or some other trigger in their code that says, oh, whoops, something happened that we didn't expect, so we better collect that data. That's called being smart. You don't just collect everything and have it waste away on your server. You only collect the things that disagree with your current model performance. Waymo does the same thing. And so you have to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. I'm sure Waymo, who has a pretty good miles to critical disengagement rate right now, is not going around saving all their data. In fact, they probably only need to collect data even less frequently than Tesla for right now. So apples to apples, you're looking at it backwards, actually. And the benefit for Tesla in the future, maybe not right now, is that when you get to very high miles per critical disengagement, it's very hard to go find those useful cases where you actually do want to collect the data. In fact, you may not have them for days at a time. So you need to have lots of cars out there trying different situations on the hopes that you can collect those very rare edge cases. That will be the benefit to Tesla versus Waymo, is simply the breadth that they have with their network.
Did somebody hack machine account?
All right, let's go to Alejandro. Alejandro, what do you have to say? What's your question or comment for Gordon?
Yes, Gordon is a master of cherry picking. When we're talking about Waymo having 700 cars, while Tesla has millions of cars, and the miles that Gordon is referring to, which I remember seeing the comment from Elon Musk, the same logic applies to Waymo, except that Waymo drives far less areas than Tesla, which is all over the place. So why you consistently cherry pick data that it's not really apples to apple? You constantly talk about disengagements, comparing Tesla to Waymo, where those disengagements are never the same disengagement because of the way that they get reported. And number two, the amount of miles that you're referring to Waymo is in very selected areas where Tesla has it all over United States and Canada. So what do you have to answer to that?
Yeah, this is like you're creating a fantasy land with this question. So the disengagements that Waymo reports are under specific specifications, and they're testing their robotaxis under guidelines of the government. Tesla will not do that. They refuse to test, and they're still level 2. So when you say the disengagements aren't equal, like there's no way for you to know that because Waymo's actually doing it as per the government regulations, and Tesla refuses to do it despite telling everyone that they have robotaxis or full self-driving. So your question is disingenuous or lacking of an understanding of how all this works.
Yeah, but you're still bringing them as if they are the same thing, even though you don't know either. And also about, again, I'm talking about the fleet too. So there was two pieces of the question.
I do know the definition of how California defines a disengagement. So that's incorrect. The only thing we don't know is Tesla. And we also know that, Tesla's safety data, they were defining a disengagement as when an airbag deploys, which every expert says that is not the definition. So that's what they used for years to say their cars are the safest in the world. And we now know that that's completely false. And then what was the second part of the question?
Yeah, the fleet of Waymo, it's 700 in a very selected areas where Tesla's is all over the United States and Canada. So they have way more data, even though you're correct. He did say that not every mile is important for the training, but no matter how you slice it, it's going to be a much bigger data set than Waymo will ever have because those miles are in very selected areas.
Yeah, again, that's categorically false. I just explained to you that Tesla has 160,000 test miles and Waymo has 20 million real-world test miles and 20 billion simulation test miles. So for you to say Tesla's data set, I know that people have been saying that for a long time, but I just explained to you why that has been categorically false. Waymo
They are not the same miles.
Test data.
Okay. We're not going to go back and forth. So we have other hands. I think people should be respectful. of other speakers, and they should stay on board, raise their hands, and wait for me to call on them. We're going to go to Hovhan. Hovhan, go ahead.
Hey guys, this is a question to the group, but mainly Gordon, because he brought up the 1 in 10,000 of the distance like driven is useful for training. Now, I'm a newbie in the FSD tech, so this might be a naive question, but hypothetically, if FSD gets better over time, like it's the best driver in the world, wouldn't that number just keep going down because there's no need to train?
I don't understand the question, but one thing I want to highlight just real quick for people who say Waymo doesn't scale.
I mean, is it a stupid question, Gordon? Like, or do you not understand it?
I don't understand. I just said I don't, but I just want to highlight something. Then I'll address your question. So, Waymo has doubled their Robotaxi trips per week in the last 2 months, and they've increased by 10 times over the past year. That's their Robotaxi trips per week. They've doubled it over the past 10 months, increased 10 times over the past year. They're doing it carefully, safely, and exponentially. So for those who say it's not scaling, that is the definition of scaling. And at this rate, right, 10 times over the past year, they will have saturated the entire taxi market before Tesla has a Robotaxi on the road. So for those who saying it's not scaling, again, you're literally ignoring the actual definition of what scaling is. They are scaling.
Okay. Machine.
I just want to go back for the rest of the audience so everyone understands how algorithms and machine learning work. As I know, PhD work in algorithm development, machine learning, deployed many for companies. What happens is, as an algorithm gets better, there are less real-world cases where it disagrees with reality. And that means there is a less frequent need to collect and save the data. This applies for every autonomous vehicle company. So what happens is, the better your software gets, the more miles you need to actually drive before you can select a snippet of data and keep it. So just keep that in mind when you compare these different companies and what they claim, and think about,
Machine got a call. Let's go to Alexander.
Yeah, Gordon, if you say that Waymo is scaling, what are they scaling if you don't think they can turn a profit? They are scaling on profit. Is that good?
I mean, you tell me. I mean, Tesla's in the same business. I'm just highlighting to you the numbers, right? Double in 2 months, 10 times over the past year. That's the definition of scaling. So they are scaling. I told you they're not profitable. I don't know if Robotaxi is even a good business to be in. We don't know that. And as of right now, the answer is categorically it's not. It's a money pit.
Team Flexity.
All right. So Gordon, you are saying that Tesla only has how many million miles?
What's the
16
question?
million, right? You're saying that Tesla only has 16 million miles for training,
No,
whereas
that's
Waymo has.
that's not what he's saying. Come on, guys. The quality of arguments against Gordon Johnson's arguments is very low, except for Machine. Machine has done a great job. So let's give him the mic again. Machine.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention is simulated miles. Simulated miles are a much weaker form of data versus real world in terms of finding edge cases. And the reason why Waymo goes to them.
Actually, Machine, the three foremost experts, Sam Ad-Divlismade from Guidehouse, Philip Koopman from the College of Engineering, and Missy Cummings from George Mason University, believe that is the actual inverse of what you said is correct. They believe you're 100% incorrect. They believe simulation miles are among the most useful miles.
That's pretty funny.
You can call all those experts up. I put their numbers in the tweet this morning.
Actually,
I'll happily confirm that.
Absolutely. Bring them on a speaker board with me, and we'll go through each one of them.
They are lab tested, accredited experts in this space.
I know who they are. None of them do machine learning. Okay. So I know they actually don't know how this works with machine learning. And I know in machine learning, you can go Google simulated data in machine learning Reddit threads or something. You'll get an education. People know you can't evaluate
on simulated data, it's like grading your own test. Okay, if I just feed in simulated data to train and then I evaluate on the same simulated data,
I'll
it's
just say
called cheating.
the three foremost experts in this space disagree with you and believe you're 100% incorrect. I just want to highlight that.
So if you feed in specific unit tests of simulated data and the algorithm performs perfectly on them, the problem is that that simulated data does not replicate the real world exactly. So when you take that same algorithm and go perform it in the real world, it will not perform as expected because it performed well on simulated data. Whoops, something was different between the simulation and the real world. So you need to have real world, especially in your evaluation test sets. Waymo, they know this, and they need simulated data, however, because they can't get enough real world data. I'm not dissing them. You can have a mixture of both. My point is simply this whole boasting about simulated data is actually coming from a weakness for Waymo, not a strength.
By the way, Waymo has 20 million miles of real world tested data. Tesla has 160,000. And Waymo also has 20 billion miles of simulated data. That's just the fact.
Gordon, you're the repeating of the 160,000 figure needs to come with an asterisk that this is your assumption, and you haven't really laid out.
It's not my assumption.
Why.
It's based on the tweet that Elon Musk sent. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not correct.
No, Elon said 1 in 10,000 miles. He didn't say 1 in 10,000 FSD miles. And also, you're not comparing apples to apples there with the Waymo miles either. So it's very important to
Why
not
am I not
mislead.
comparing apples to apples?
Well, why? So why do you say all Waymo's miles are 10,000 in 10,000, as opposed to you're saying 1 in 10,000 for Waymo?
Listen, everything I'm telling you, I provide links to in my tweet. It's not about what I'm saying. This is what Waymo is saying.
There's
and they're
the
saying
weak
these are tested
link.
miles, and there's specific
Sir.
criterion under the California DEV guidelines as to what a tested mile is.
Gordon, I just point out the weak link in your argument. You're welcome to strengthen it. But if you're going to assume 1 in 10,000 miles are useful for Tesla fleet, you have to at least tell us why that ratio is higher for
because
the Waymo
Elon
miles.
Musk said it. That's Elon Musk's words, not mine.
No, I understand, but why are you assuming that ratio is better for Waymo? There's no support there.
You're not understanding the argument. So what the argument that like people like Ark, and I'm sure many in this room use, is Tesla's going to leapfrog everybody because they have more data. What I'm explaining to you is they have exponentially less data than Waymo.
Okay, we're gonna go. We have 4 hands. We have a great speaker board. Sierra has her hand up. Machine has his hand up. But by request, I agree with this request from live chat. We're gonna take a 30-second break. 30-second break for everyone in YouTube. On X, to go to the top of our screens and like the YouTube live stream while I read these audio ends for our sponsors who make this space possible. If you're enjoying this discussion, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to support Tesla Live. Please head over to the YouTube live stream at the top of our screens. Link at the top of our screens. Hit the like button. Your engagement not only helps us reach more people, but also keeps these conversations going strong. So 30 seconds for the audio ads. Okay. And here they are. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. Looking to upgrade your tech? Want to turn your old device into cash? With over 100 stores nationwide, Paymore makes it easy and secure. They believe that the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Thank you, Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live and for making technology accessible and sustainable for everyone. And Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. And here's an exclusive offer for Tesla Live listeners. Use promo code Tesla Live at checkout to receive a special discount on your next purchase. The code is TSLA Live. So why wait? Visit Joa.com today. Thank you, Joa, for supporting Tesla Live and the Tesla community. Let's go to Machine, then Sierra.
Yeah, I was just looking up Phil Koopman, Googled simulation, found a published article with him on simulated data and autonomous vehicles. Let me read this quick small snippet for you.
Because of the complexity of requirements for an autonomous system, it seems likely that rare edge cases will be where learning problems would be expected to occur. However, because of their rarity, collecting data depicting such unusual circumstances can be expensive and difficult to scale. Parentheses, simulation and synthetic data can help with this, but come with the risk of bias and as well as overfitting to simulated artifacts. So I actually believe Dr. Phil Koopman agrees with me that there is some use case for simulation, but they also come with flaws. And I now ask you, Gordon, I believe you should add me to your esteemed list of experts that you go to for talking about machine learning. Thank you.
Sierra.
Yeah, I have a question for Gordon or for the panel, if anyone can answer this, because I just don't know. When we talk about real world data comparison and the mile disparity, do we have any figures on how much of Waymo's real world data is geographically unique as compared to how much of Tesla's real world data is geographically unique, meaning not in a closed environment?
Gordon, do you have an answer for that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Good question. Sierra, Machine, do you have an answer?
I don't have an explicit quantitative answer. I don't think it's been provided. I do know that Waymo does do testing in other cities. So I believe they may have data from, let's say, even up to 50 other cities, but it's not that much, right? So they're have a a short tail, and most of their data is within Phoenix, San Francisco Bay Area, and Los Angeles. Now, you could argue that for the fundamentals of driving, you can collect and learn most use cases from a few specific geographical areas, and then only need to get the edge case data from these other cities. So maybe that pattern could work. But certainly Tesla has a much better distribution of data across a variety of conditions.
Yeah, great point, Machine, and great question, Sierra. And we actually discussed this at length with my one-on-one conversation with Omar on the YouTube channel. The video is named Robotaxi Race, Tesla versus Waymo. And the fact is, majority of the miles, most of the miles really, come from two cities, Phoenix and San Francisco. Even LA has very few miles. And the testing done in a handful of other cities is very, very low miles. Let's go to Josh.
Hey, so I'm in Milton right now. We have a little bit of a tropical storm, and I just drove using the most recent update on my Hardware 3 Model Y, 4 miles round trip to a friend's house with no interventions, no disengagements other than that to me is scale. How does Waymo get to this scale in Tampa already? How can you pretend of Tesla when we have anecdotal evidence of this all across the country, even in storms, of FSD working?
Thank you, Josh. Finflexity.
Okay, so so I just read Gordon's tweet again, and he says that Tesla has 160,000 miles of data for training, whereas Waymo has 20 million miles. So Yaman, if you would like, I can just break down the numbers from Tesla sales and come to the actual figure live right now.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, we model out the sales for the years 2016 to 2024, assuming an average lifespan of 6 years. Let's forget the last 2 years from the data. So based on this number, we come up with a figure that over the last 8 years, Tesla has generated a total of 168 billion miles driven from all its cars. This is based on an assumption that every year, every single car drives roughly 12,000 miles, which is the standard number across the entire world. So we come up with 168 billion miles. We divide that by 10,000, and we come up with a figure of 168 million miles for the for the training purposes. So that's the 168 million number. And additionally, till date, Waymo has driven approximately 20 million miles across its entire, basically wherever they have driven this much only. And based on
Well,
that,
let
we
me
can
stop you
come
right
up
there.
with.
Tesla actually publishes how many FSD miles they've driven.
Yeah,
And the most recent published number is
sorry,
1.6 billion.
I'm gonna put you on mute because I want to listen to Finflexity. He's going through the data in detail, and that's the exact approach I need to these discussions. Finflexity, please continue.
Okay, so the problem with your approach is, Gordon, that you are looking at Tesla's FSD miles. FSD miles are essentially what you have driven when you have FSD switched on. But Elon's comment says that out of every 10,000 miles that a Tesla drives, 1 mile is useful for the training purpose. There are millions of Teslas that don't drive on FSD. And when you account for those Teslas, you come up with a figure of 168 billion miles driven over the last 8 years. When you divide that by 10,000, you come up with 168 million, which is approximately 8x what Waymo has driven. And if we reduce a certain factor from Waymo's driving, which for deriving the useful data, let's assume that they find useful data in 1 out of 20 miles, which is which is very liberal. So you would come up with the figure that Tesla has 168 times more data for training its models than Waymo does.
Very good. That was excellent. That's exactly the kind of thing I need from my speakers, from the speaker board in Tesla Live. All right. This has been a great conversation. We're running out of time right now, and I want to give a chance to the listeners to go up to the top of our screens and click and subscribe to YouTube channel so that you can join tomorrow's watch party on 10:10. Tomorrow, we're going to have many of our speakers come in, join us for a watch party. We're going to view the event together, and in the live chat, we're going to have ongoing conversations. Sierra is going to be there, Alexander is going to be there, Dallas is going to be there, and many others as well. And I bet you, Machine is not going to be able to stand back because he wants to be part of a community that is alive, and Machine is going to be there too. So you can join tomorrow's watch party through the link at the top of your screens. Highly recommend join us. It's going to be a great, great time. Gordon and then Machine, and we're going to shut down the space.
Right. So a lot of you say that Tesla, by the way, that last comment I completely disagree with, but we don't have to get into that. A lot of you say that Tesla's FSD vision is the best, right? So my question to you is, if vision is better than mapping, why is Tesla mapping the studio that they're going to do this event on tomorrow? They've been mapping it for weeks. Can anyone answer that?
Machine,
Thank you.
please respond to that, and then closing comments for Machine.
You know, I personally don't think mapping is necessarily a bad thing, so I don't really support that argument either way. I would just say I can't make the live party tomorrow. I'm going to be with Gordon's mom.
Okay, well, that is a great closing comment in line with character. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a great time. We're going to continue with this tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to have the same X space at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. And then we're going to continue with a watch party for the main event. That's going to be on YouTube. You can join the conversation through at the top of your link and through the link at the top of our screens. And it's going to be a great time. I highly recommend you join us. And Sierra, I'm looking forward to you singing for us tomorrow at the pre-party. And Dallas and Finflexity, Hustletown, Alexander, and many others are going to be there in the live chat. Thank you very much, everybody. Great time, great conversation. Highly recommend listening to the entire thing from the beginning. And I will chat with you all tomorrow. Take care.